So, at the end of the last millennium, the National Society of Engineers polled its members asking this question: what was the greatest engineering achievement of the 20th century? It wasn't the automobile, it wasn't the airplane, the internet was 13th. The answer was the national grid. The fact that we had built this elaborate system that electrified the entire nation, bringing light and power to every nook and cranny and corner of the United States. Energy is a big deal. It represents, production and distribution of energy represents about 9% of the United States' $14 trillion economy. But absolutely, to be sure, energy powers the other 91% of that economy as well. So, energy is a big deal. If we think about eradicating poverty around the world, we can't do that without first thinking about eradicating energy poverty. And the existing system that we have here in the United States and globally has been great for us. It has powered our economy, it has enabled our prosperity. But it's going to change, and my thesis is that that change is inevitable. So, why is that the case? Well, there are actually many, very interrelated policy drivers, forces driving change. And I'm going to talk about four of them. One is the global market opportunity. Actually, we're already in a market shift. We are already moving aggressively to clean energy technologies. There's the matter of energy security, and there's energy economics, and finally there's the challenge of global change. Climate change. Climate change is not a powerful driver today, but absolutely it will be a powerful driver, at least in this country, in the future. So, here is the investment in clean energy technologies. It is skyrocketing. This does not include research and development, but in 2011 it was $237 billion. Energy is actually a $1 trillion industry. In 2011, we, for the first time, saw global investment in clean energy electrical technologies actually exceed total global investment in coal, nuclear, and oil electrical generation resources. Since April 2012, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America have announced $120 billion of new investment in clean energy technologies. By 2020, at the low end, energy experts and economists predict that we'll invest something slightly less than $500 billion a year in clean energy technologies. At the high end, that number is $1.3 trillion. The International Energy Agency indicates that we're going to invest $46 trillion approximately between now and 2050. And if we do that, we will avoid $112 trillion in fossil fuel costs. So why are we going to make this investment? Well, here in Michigan, our fleet of coal plants and nuclear plants are 50 years old. And we're a proxy, really, for the United States. Between now and 2050, all of our electrical generation infrastructure really has to be transitioned to something else. And of course, we want that to be the most economically efficient technology, and that's our goal. In addition to that, there are 1.4 billion people in the world that don't have electricity today. But to be sure, they'll be electrified tomorrow. And that electrification represents a tremendous market opportunity for those who can develop and distribute compact energy systems. So, second factor, energy security. The U.S. uses 18 million barrels of transportation fuels a day. That's down from 21 million per day in 2007. We import 10 million barrels a day from other places, OPEC, places that have geopolitical interests that are incongruent with our own. We do that at big cost, at about $365 billion a year. But that's the direct cost that we pay for importing transportation fuel. Actually, you're not paying $387 at the pump. You are, in fact, paying something like double that, because the United States shoulders the burden around the world of ensuring that the logistical and transportation routes for transportation fuels remain free, clear, and deliver transportation. And that's very, very expensive. You've all heard the term peak oil. There's a corresponding term for coal, peak coal. It doesn't mean that we're going to run out of this resource. What it actually means is that we are running out of the oil and coal that is economically extractable. And with respect to oil, there are 800 oil fields operating around the world, and the International Energy Agency predicted or has shown that in 2007, more than half of those were beyond peak production. And what it means is that if we are going to maintain the present rate of transportation fuel consumption, every 3 to 4 years, we have to bring on the equivalent of a new Saudi Arabia. So there's plenty of fuel available. We can do enhanced oil recovery. We have Albertan tar sands. We have Bakken and Marcellus oil shales. But all of those are expensive to extract. And there's a difference between reserves, which is the economically extractable amount of a fossil fuel, and resources, which is the total amount that's in the ground. And the cost of extraction includes the health and environmental consequences, which we aren't fully accounting for today. But these externalities, now that we are measuring them, it means in the future that we will better manage them. So, third factor is energy economics. As I said, between now and 2050, we have to replace everything, and we want to do that with the most economically efficient technologies. And that has two factors. What is the cheapest technology, and what presents the lowest amount of future risk? And by those metrics, it's renewable energy. And that's not just me making that representation. That's the findings, really, of all of the analyses that are coming to fore, and they're all very recent. The Michigan Public Service Commission is required by law to analyze and compare the cost of renewable energy annually against the modeled cost of electrical energy derived from a new coal plant. And in its most recent report, it looked at the actual executed contracts for wind energy in the state, which were at $61 and $64 per megawatt hour. The modeled cost of electricity from a new coal plant is $133 a megawatt hour. So it's less than half. You may have heard Howland announce last week that they have contracted to buy wind energy from a wind farm in Indiana at a price of about 4 cents, just over 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So if we're talking about new electrical generation resources, absolutely, wind energy is the cheapest choice for us today, and it's going to get cheaper tomorrow because the cost trajectories of fossil fuels are going up, and the cost trajectory of renewable energy is going down, and quite dramatically. In fact, in the last 4 years, we've seen efficiencies and improvements in wind energy that we never anticipated. You probably heard of the Sunshot, which is a strategic cost reduction initiative by the Department of Energy. Their goal is to have the all-in, unsubsidized cost of utility-scale solar energy to be at $1 a watt by 2017. They think they're going to make that goal. $1 a watt is electricity at 5.5 cents a kilowatt. You're getting electricity delivered to your home at something at around 11 cents a kilowatt. If we do that, the world changes. To give you an idea how quickly this landscape is changing, the Energy Information Agency in the United States, which is that agency that compiles all the data and information about energy and forecasts energy use and energy resources in the future, every year they do something called an annual energy outlook. And that's a 25-year look forward to our energy future. And in 2006, they forecasted that the United States would build 145 gigawatts of new coal. That's about 240 600-megawatt plants. 5 years later, in their annual energy outlook, the Energy Information Agency forecasted only 2 new plants. This year in 2012, the number is 0. Why? They're no longer economical, and the international financial community won't invest in them. So, 4th factor here, climate change. This is the 800-pound gorilla in the world, and I'm in the room. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this, except to suggest that in this country we have to do so much more in order to really have an accurate narrative about what this is all about. Really, climate change science is the largest, costliest, most international, most interdisciplinary, most thorough scientific inquiry mankind has ever undertaken. We have 24 modeling centers around the world at institutes and universities that use the most power computers, the best available software, and input data that is continually enhanced with billions of new data points from atmospheric, oceanic, and land measurements. And they're all coming to the same conclusion, that we are in trouble unless we address climate change. And although today, as I said, climate change is not a driver of policy in terms of moving us to clean energy technologies, but it certainly will be in the future. So, this, I think, is really important, at least to mention. The National Snow and Ice Data Center every day takes a new satellite shot and posts it online of the Arctic. You can't really see it, but around that big thick line, just a small distance represents 2 standard deviations in terms of the amount of ice in the Arctic at any particular point in time over a 20-year average. The green line, second from the bottom, it was the 2007 ice minimum. And 2007 was a year when we had extraordinary weather in the Arctic, lots of sunshine, high temperatures. In 2012, you see what happened. Where the models predicted that the Arctic would be ice-free in summer, sometimes between 2070 and 2100, the models now, adjusted with new data, are predicting that the Arctic will be ice-free sometime between 2016 and 2030. That's September 16th, the ice minimum of the Arctic, and the orange line represents the 20-year average. So, these 4 things, the market shift and the market opportunity that is so robust, actually much greater than the information technology boom of the 1990s, the need for greater energy security, the need to address climate change, and the sheer force of energy economics is going to lead us to a clean energy economy. Here's what Bill Clinton said. So, the good news, this is our sweet spot. In Michigan, in the Great Lakes, in the United States, we do advanced manufacturing, engineering, material science, and innovation better than anyone in the world. This is our opportunity, and I really hope that we take full advantage of it. Thank you.